you dreading your next home repair? Don't. Crew Pros is your one-call solution for everything your home needs. Whether it's heating and air, plumbing, complete roof replacement, whole home generators, and electrical repairs. Our professionals get the job done right. Crew Pros is your single source for high-quality home services at affordable prices. For everything your home needs, Crew Pros. Remodel, repair, replace.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eyes no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901. I am on the road, and so I'm not at my house, even though we would not be doing this if I was at my house because my wife tells me we have no power. So we're going to keep going on. I know a lot of you might not have power, so you can't watch this live as we normally do. But if you catch us later on in the week, I hope everybody does have safety, but also power, a lot of heat and air. But I'm your host, Daniel Greer, and we are presented by Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. If you have any insurance needs at all, if you're looking for life insurance, automobile insurance, whatever, if it's homeowners, call our team over at Zach Jaworski State Farm at 901-794-3691, and they will make sure they hook you up with any of your insurance needs. I've had them for 10 years. They've always treated me well. All right, let's get into a little bit of the show. It's all about roster crunch, right? So it's all about the team and who is on the actual roster and what they're going to do to get down to 15. Jaws suspension looms, but we're going to get into that. We're going to get into our guy, Anthony Sain. Sain, before I actually introduce you, I got to come off the top rope real quick. I got to ask you a simple question. How can we change the NBA and the actual All-Star game? One simple thing. NBA 3v3. Would that tickle your fancy a little bit?
It probably would. Yeah, I could get with that, especially if you let guys kind of make their own teams. Yeah. And guys kind of get together and link up with dudes that might be their friends, and you might find out guys that are cool that you didn't know were cool, and then you get the speculation like, oh, I saw Josh Aaron and Mikal Bridges playing, you know what I mean, or something like that. You know.
So would you rather it be, I guess, random guys in the league just say, hey, we want to have eight teams, and then we're going to obviously whittle it down to one champion. Would you want to have just random guys, or do you think that it could be a team versus team thing, and it's 3 versus 3, every guy off their team, and then somehow you get voted, whatever, to be the one of the final 8 that gets brought into the All-Star game?
You mean like teams like represent their actual teams they play for?
Yeah, so if it was like, let's say Ja, Jaren, and Bane, 3v3 versus, I don't know, you can go against the Suns with Booker, KD, and whoever they want to pick.
I could get with it. I would like it. I would like to see it mixed up more than anything, but yeah, that'd be dope.
Well, either way, I think what would be really cool is if you had an alumni team that was the champion. So whoever the champion that comes out of the tournament has to end up playing the actual alumnus, the champion there. And from then on out, you have to come back every year and play the winner, whoever wins the tournament, to see who the rightful champion is. Yeah. I think it'd be fun.
I can get with it. Just don't do what the Big Three is doing, because that gets that up out of here, man.
Is that the tickets, or is that the actual play?
Say it again.
The ticket situation or the actual play?
The actual game itself is terrible. I was in the building, man, and I was there for nostalgia's sake, but that faded very quickly, bro. Like, those dudes are. I'm gonna talk about that on my show that's coming out tomorrow too. Like, I was there, and man, like, yeah, you're talking about dudes that are late 30s, 40s out there playing. They're playing at 50, man. Those dudes are good for about 21 and a half, and they're done. You know, wow. So yeah, going to 50 was extreme overkill. The games lasted about an hour apiece. No, me and the big three ain't no. Good.
All right, so we're gonna fix the All-Star game, the All-Star weekend with some 3v3. Let's go ahead and get into the show a little bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he's either gonna be your favorite or he's your most hated. He's our guy. He's running the Anthony Sain show. He's Anthony Sain. What's up, Sain, and welcome.
Good, bro. I'm good. How about yourself, man?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. I want to talk a lot of Grizzlies today, and so I want to keep it simple. There's not going to be a super fancy headline to this show. It's not going to be fancy in any way. I want to talk about one simple thing, and it's going to take us the entire length of the show. But it's all about the roster crunch. Everybody has so many different ways they want to go about this roster. Everybody wants to either get rid of John Conchar, or they want to bring in Josh Christopher, somehow keep Isaiah Todd, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think me and you can just speak freely. And I think I just want to go back and forth. Me and you have built a good relationship now over the short span of time. I think I just want to go back and forth and try to see if we could figure out a little bit of what makes sense for whatever this might be for this season. So initial thoughts on the roster, is anything that pops off at you right away?
I just think it's an exciting offseason, man. You saw Zach Kleiman make some moves that are kind of non-traditional as far as acquiring guys. In the past, you've had guys like, Jared Culver, who you had on the roster, who you knew, like, I don't really, he could turn out to be something, but Culver was a guy that kind of fit Kleiman's DNA,
Right.
He was a guy who played college for a while, he could defend, he could play make, those type of things. He kind of fit Kleiman's system, kind of the DNA, what he normally drafts.
Yeah.
But when they acquired guys like a Josh Christopher, Isaiah Todd, and then you draft a guy like G.G. Jackson, those aren't typical Zach Kleiman, guys. You know what I mean? So to have those type of guys on the roster, it makes you think maybe he wants to really take a good look, at these guys to see what he has in them. It's going to be a hell of a training camp.
Yeah.
You saw the wing battle that was going on in the summer league. Then you're going to add Zaire Williams to that equation. And, it might not be as friendly as it looked in summer league. You know what I mean? When you're locked in that cage of preseason camp,
right?
Who knows what will happen. I remember a couple of years ago when they got rid of Grayson Allen, it was Desmond Bain and Anthony Melton in camp. And everybody was talking about how, everything is good. And I was like, man, how is this good when both of you guys are going to be competing for that starting shooting guard spot? And I want to say somebody was out. I want to say maybe Dillon was out with injury. And they were going 3-guard at one time. They were going Ja, Bain, and Melton.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see, man. I've got my guys. If I just had to make a decision today, if I could just make 2 guys disappear off the roster. Yeah. I know how I would do that, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yes, I'm going to get to that. I want to ask you kind of what you would do, but also I want to know what the front office, because what you might do and what you think the front office does might be completely different. It could be the same, right? But I want to get to that. But a little bit about just off the very, very top, G.G. Jackson going to a 2-way has to happen, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because that hasn't happened yet. Like,
right.
You would have thought you would have heard that announced on draft night.
Right.
And I don't know if you're talking about a kid who was top in his class,
right,
before he reclassified. And it's not like the kid wasn't producing in college. His numbers just weren't good. Right. And he wasn't efficient. And he had the run-ins with his coach and social media stuff. But it wasn't like he was a kid who couldn't play. It wasn't like he was a project. The kid put up like 15 points a game in college, which is phenomenal by college basketball standards. So I could very well see him and his camp being in a situation where, no, you're not going to treat us like that. Give us the same deal y'all did Kennedy Chandler. You know what I mean? Or whatever. He's an interesting case, man. A lot of people are talking about him and Imani Bates or whatever. And you look at that situation and you kind of ask yourself, okay, what's the difference? What if G.G. Jackson could very well be what if Imani Bates played that 1 year in Memphis and then went straight to the league? How would we look at the prospect of Imani Bates today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be a totally different discussion what you're having about either one of those guys. What if G.G. went back to school or whatever? Or what if G.G. Jackson never went to college and said, hey, I'm just going to sit at home for a year. I'm not going to let you guys critique me at all. Draft me off of the last thing you saw in high school. You know what I mean? What would we be saying about him? Would we be put him on a 2-way? No, we'd be talking about this kid's the future small forward for this team or whatever, combo forward. So it's interesting, man. I'm not trying to conjure up something that's not there. I'm not going to say that he's not going to sign for a 2-way, but it's just interesting to see that he hasn't. We haven't heard that news yet.
Yeah, and it looks to me, from what I see, is Jacob Gilyard is actually on a 2-way contract for the 23-24 season.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see. I've looked at every website that covers that. And I've heard before that, hey, that was just last year to finish up last year. But what I see, and I can only be privy to the information I'm given, I see that he is signed for a two-way for this upcoming season. That obviously can get waived. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's nothing to waive those. Yeah.
That's easy money. But right now it's Vince Williams, who people have said he played his way possibly into a roster spot on this team. And I believe that, but you can't bring him off a two-way because you're trying to make guys fit. You're trying to keep everybody you can, unless they're making some trade that we don't know about. So at this point, the roster crunch that is, you've got to keep Vince Williams on that.
Right.
Maybe send, the same thing, send Gigi in a two-way contract, right? And say, hey, we're just for a 1-year deal and we'll get you to the main roster. Whatever they want to do. I don't know. But the fact that what if he does blow up in the G League? Then you have to get him on the main roster somehow, some way. Like, you don't want to have the potential of losing him, whatever way you do. So that's in itself. But you're talking about the way this is actually built up. Do you agree Isaiah Todd's probably either he's traded or waived no matter what?
Man, I want to see all these dudes in camp before I say anything. I think camp's going to make it play out. It's interesting. Like, somebody put a tweet out about how we waived Michael Beasley and Costa Coopers. We waived Michael Beasley and God, what was his name? The big that went to Miami and he was good. Played for Miami, played for Utah.
Hassan Whiteside?
Hassan Whiteside. Remember, we waived Beasley, we waived Whiteside. Whiteside was killing in the preseason.
Right.
Like, he looked as good as Mark damn near in the preseason. He definitely looked better than Costa Coopers. And people were always preseason, it don't matter, Costa's, we know Costa's good, and Whiteside, it's just preseason, he's playing against bums. And
right.
He's going to have a great year that year, and the next year after that as well. And he had he led a longer career than, Costa Coopers was out of the league probably in a couple of years after that, after he left Memphis. And, Whiteside played, he just got out of the league like a year or so ago.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, let's really pay attention to what happens in the preseason. Let's see how this plays out, and don't let politics get involved. If Gigi Jackson is murdering dudes, I'm not going to say take him off a two-way because that's the most team-friendly contract you have is a two-way.
Correct.
If you can keep a guy on a two-way those 2 years, get it, 50 games they get on the two-way
like
contract?
42 or something like that. It's around 42, 50, whatever.
Yeah. If you get those games, use as many of those as you can, then make those tough decisions if you have to. What I'm saying is, if a guy if Junior Lofton looks good, give him the minutes he deserves. If Zaire is killing those dudes, give him the minutes he deserves. If Roddy looks good, give him, do it like that. Man. And I'll be honest. I know y'all probably waiting for me. We're just waiting for Sain to say something about Conchar. everybody who's watching, I don't think John Conchar is going to look better than a lot of guys in his wing rotation that shoot in the small forward. You know what I mean? So let's remove all the contract talk out of the way. Do what you have to do to get whatever guy you think needs to be gone off your roster, whether that's sending out, second round pick compensation, whatever it takes to move a guy. Because I've heard people say you can't waive someone. Bro, are we really talking about reasons why you can't waive John Conchar? Like, is that a real conversation? Like, are we really doing this? I mean, so and there are ways to do whatever you need to do. But I'm not going to speak on Todd. I'm not going to say just outwaive him. Just see what happens in camp, man. You're talking about a guy who's probably 19 years old, versatile power forward, athletic, can knock down, in theory can shoot. Who doesn't need more of those? You know what I mean? Right. So let's see what these guys look like. Let's get them in camp. Josh Christopher, let's see what he looks like. Another guy that was a super high-ranked, high school player who didn't have the best college career. Isaiah Todd didn't play college basketball at all. Let's get those guys in the gym, man, and see. It's kind of, I hate to say it's pointless to talk about it now, but guess what we're doing? We're talking about it. But that's my take, man. Let's get them in camp and see. And I don't know how it's going to play out. If I had to pick today, I've got my 2 dudes I picked just to magically disappear off the roster. But yeah, let's see, man. Let's get the ball rolling.
All right, so 2 things. So the John Conchar talk, obviously, to explain the I guess the contract. It is 2 years for $2 million, or I think it's like $2 million this year for this upcoming season. But he's got a 3-year extension past that, right? So then it goes to $6 million for the next 3 years. So you're talking about if you were to waive him, and I have said this before, you can't just outright waive him because you're just killing your salary cap at that point. So you're just taking, say, hey, we're going to take the $6 million for the next 3 years. That can't be. You're not going to waive him over a course of 10 years and somehow just, remove it that way. But I will say that you can send out a guy on a trade for cash. Okay. Because easily, let's say a team like the Rockets, who might have extra cash laying around, if you give them, whatever, 2 second-round picks and John Conchar for cash or whatever, then it goes away, right? That's how you open up a roster spot. That's how you open up the money, so you don't have to outright waive them. Yeah. So just to explain that to everybody,
what Phoenix is doing right now. Phoenix is getting guys off their roster.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, for cash.
Exactly. And so they just did that with a campaign, who I would love to have had.
Right.
So that's how you do it. But you can't actually just waive them, because you're eating everything. That does not make sense. Okay.
Even if you stretch it out, for a 3-year deal, you're stretching it out for what, 6 years?
It's stupid. Don't do that.
There's somebody that's still on our payroll right now. I can't think of who it is.
Yves Pons and Kenny Chandler.
Yeah, it's somebody else, man. Like either they
Both
just
Memphis guys.
It's somebody that just rolled off. Somebody, I don't know. Somebody that was some weird name. Oh, the kid that we were just talking about, Jerry Culver, technically is still on our books.
Is he?
I think he's still on our books. I might be wrong, but yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, let's talk more about how we getting John Conchar off the roster. Let's stay there for a minute.
Yes. So honestly, I think and I'm a big Conchar fan. I think he plays basketball well. I think what's happening now is the talent has risen up enough to where he helps us and keeps us at a good floor in a sense. So does David Roddy. David Roddy actually does more for you outside of rebounding than John Conchar does, in my opinion, right now. And he's much cheaper and he's much younger. And so with that being said, I think a guy like John Conchar can be a really good player as your 11th and your 12th guy, such as Xavier Tillman. And I'm going to ask you about him here in a second. Because I think that's very important for Junior Lofton, because I don't know what Junior's going to do. I don't know how he fits in there. We'll talk about that. But I do think that now Roddy has caught up to him, and I think that kind of can push John Conchar out of here. I just don't know what you do with him. You got to somehow send him somewhere else where you can get him off your roster, but you can't waive him. But I do want to ask you, first of all, I want you to go ahead and tell me what you would do, okay? Let's say this all plays out and you see the guys right now. If you had to be a betting person, who are the 2 guys that you think you would end up somehow getting rid of, or whatever you would do?
Before I say I'm getting John Conchar off my roster, I will say that the thing that has – how you kind of know stuff, but you don't really know it, or you're not really paying attention to it.
Okay.
I was made aware or reminded – I know what curse words I can say on my show. I don't know what I can say on yours.
Go ahead.
But I won't say the F word. I don't say that on my show. Yeah, I did not know that John Conchar's ass was 27 effing years old. Like that whole thing like blew my mind when I was reminded of it.
Yeah. And
for that reason alone, just piggybacking on what you're saying, there are guys who do a lot of what he does, either as good or better, and they're 5 years younger than him. You know what I mean? At minimum, you know what I mean? You got David Roddy. I think he's maybe 21, 22 years old, maybe. Am I going to pretend like Vince Williams isn't better than John Conchar at everything he's doing? I look at Vince Williams and I see, okay, that guy reminds me a lot of rookie DeAnthony Melton. Like he reminds me a lot of rookie DeAnthony Melton, bro.
Didn't you call him Timu?
Timu Melton. Because you're paying a fragment of what you'd be paying for DeAnthony Melton. He's literally on 200. And like I said, Conchar is a fine player. I have running jokes. I'm an entertainer, man. So
that's cool.
Jokes about to do, but I'm not gonna act like he can't play basketball. He's fine.
Right.
But finding out he's 27, for being reminded that he's 27 years old, nah, man. No. Go play for Memphis with Penny. You'll fit in. If you got any eligibility left, you'll fit in perfect over there. The big 3 is waiting on you. You know what I mean? But no, man, it just makes sense. He's an older guy. What he is what he is. He's never going to be any better than this. He's literally playing in the prime of his career. He's 27 years old. Yeah. This is what he's going to be.
Hey, real quick on Conchar. So the beginning of last season, he looked great, right? Yeah. He was knocking down shots.
Mm-hmm. Bro, I'm on record. Let me stop you.
Yeah.
People who talk about me criticizing Conchar. I am on the record saying one of the reasons why I was fine with letting go of the real DeAnthony Melton and the real Kyle Anderson are because of Zaire. Now, I was predicting that Zaire Williams and John Conchar would take a leap. I thought, if anything, John Conchar is a guy who shot the ball well. Get that guy more shots, we'll be fine. And it just didn't happen. He started off doing it fine, but I don't know. But yeah, go ahead.
So obviously that for whatever happened, like he played well. And I felt like, oh my God, like I might actually be on the right side of this and picking a guy who actually is playing decent ball, because he was still doing the rebounding. It was still playing decent defense, right?
Actually, very good defense. I've got to admit, he's a very good defender.
He is, and that's what keeps him on the court. His shot is the cherry on top. That's really what can move a needle for a team, and that's why the Grizzlies played so well early, is because players like him are able to knock down open shots. That just makes everybody else better, so much better. I want to know if it's like me personally, what's the difference of the first half or the first part of the season where he was playing incredible? Is it way over his head? Or is the last half of the season where he looked like absolute trash, the worst player on the court every time he stepped on the court outside of Zaire? What's the difference? Is it somewhere in the middle, or is he closer to one or the other? That's what I want to know as well coming into camp.
I think he's probably somewhere in the middle, man. Sometimes, like I say this all the time, sometimes the clock just strikes midnight on guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they get in a position where they're good, and we involve numbers so much in sports, especially in basketball, man, where it's like, do per 36 and all this type of, and all these numbers for guys.
Sean, we're talking to you.
Yeah, for guys who don't even play 36 minutes. You know what I mean? I remember people were talking about John Lewar's numbers at one time, and how sexy his per 36 numbers. I was like, bro, there's a reason why that guy don't play 36 minutes a game. And when you put John Conchar in a situation where you're giving him more minutes than what he's actually able to produce, you can't just say, well, if he's doing if he's making 2 threes in 12 minutes, play him 36 minutes, he'll make 6 threes.
Yeah.
No, it don't always work like that. You give that guy more minutes, it doesn't mean that, 2 times 3 is 6. It's not exact math. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and those kind of guys, they don't always that cream doesn't always rise to the top or whatever. But he's a guy who's better suited in those 12, 15-minute spurts. He's not a guy that you can give a lot of minutes to. Those minutes start turning into bad minutes. And it seems like, but I'll say this, man. I think that the day that broke him actually broke this entire team. That Christmas game, the way they lost to Golden State after being so hyped up, and Conchar looked ass in the Christmas game, man. Yeah. Like there were plays, I was like, dude, like you just ain't ready for none of this type of smoke. And it's like that pretty much broke, the entire season. But yeah, like I said, I think he's a fine player, but I think you're just gonna see guys in camp that are younger versions of what he does, that are better than what he does, and and are probably going to be cheaper. And I think if you can move that contract off your books, and there's guys that you've got more invested in, man. You drafted Zaire Williams in the first round. You drafted Jake LaRavia in the first round. You drafted David Roddy in the first round. These are guys that you all have in the pecking order higher than him. Gigi Jackson was a highly rated high school player. And you drafted him in the second. John Conchar was an undrafted dude. And he was, I was going on rants on Twitter this during the playoffs at the end of the season. I was like, man, I'm tired of the Build-A-Bear stories. I'm tired of John Conchar has an amazing story about a dude from a small college who, was undrafted, and they literally made him into an NBA rotation-esque player. It's an amazing story. But that don't mean nothing when it comes to actually playing basketball. And you're in the playoffs, and you need guys that are ready to play. And like I said, Conchar is fine, but he's definitely number one. The guy I would look at moving off of this roster, whether it be by trade or whatever you're trying to do.
All right, now listen, you're talking about the Build-A-Bear stuff. You're now on record saying #make your own wing. So which one is it, man? We doing Build-A-Bear or not?
But you're talking about guys that are actual like basketball players who aren't like projects, though, man. Jake LaRavia is still. I'm gonna tell you what blows my mind about Jake LaRavia. And every time I think about this, I'll be like, nah, man, get that dude off my team. Media day last year, bro. Media effing day last year. John Roser and Chris Vernon had Jake LaRavia on their show. And it was like, man, so were you always like this awesome, shooter in high school? This dude, for some reason, volunteered information saying, man, I didn't even make varsity until my junior year. And they was like, in high school. Vernon's like, You mean varsity in junior high or varsity in high school? He's like, yeah, I didn't make. He's like, you mean your junior year of high school or your junior year of junior high? So he's like, yeah, I didn't make it until my junior season. And I'm like, what, bro? Like, you tell me this dude didn't even make the team until his 11th grade year? Yeah, that bothered me, man. And to this day, when I look at Jake LaRave, I'm like, dude, you didn't even start hooping. Like, are you even a hooper, bro? You know what I mean? Like, because, you know, most guys that are good, because you can say what you want about John Morant and his story. Like, you know, got coaches eating nachos. John Morant was a monster in high school, man. Like, he was putting up crazy numbers. I don't know why he wasn't, you know, looked at higher than what he was.
He was small.
But, yeah, he played basketball all 4 seasons, and he was scoring 20-some points a game. Played AAU with you know, Zion Williamson, these type of guys. Jake LaRavia's story is weird, man. So, yeah, I'm looking upside his head, too. But he's not my second guy. He's not who I would wait.
So I interviewed Jake LaRavia's high school coach right when we drafted him last year. Mm-hmm. Dude, that's all I need to know. I was out.
You out on Jake?
I was out. I am still I'm on record of saying I didn't see it with Roddy last year. I just didn't see it until finally, I think it was the Dallas game where I finally saw it click to him. And sometimes it takes a while. It takes these players are like the NBA game is so much faster. Okay. It takes them time to catch up and the game to slow down. If people don't know what that makes sense is things are kind of, it's like when you're going fast, like a NASCAR driver, right? NASCAR driver, you know, if you put us behind the wheel of a NASCAR and it's going that fast, it looks like it's crazy. But NASCAR, that's normal to them. Everything slows down and that's their normal speed. Same thing. If you were to go into an NBA basketball game, you got people would be just flying around, moving so fast until you could actually get on their speed. It doesn't slow down, so you can't make your moves that you want to do. And so I think it finally slowed down for David Roddy, and I think that's where you could kind of see his game, you know, where it moves up a little bit, where you kind of got a little bit more consistent. But man, I just haven't seen it with Jake. I think he has the potential. I think everything is there. I think he is playing a little bit bigger. I think he has the defense that he's still slow-footed. I still think he has the defense and the potential to be there and at good times, such as he was in the summer league, playing against people that won't even make G League rosters. But eventually, I don't see him being consistent enough to be a really good player in the league. I think he's a guy who will always show signs of being really good in every aspect of the game, but he will not be consistent enough to be able to put it all together.
Well, I've got my 2 dudes. I've said one of them. Number 1 is John Conchar.
Yep.
And when you ask me my second one, I'll tell you my number 2 and why. But I also have a curveball I'm gonna throw back at you.
Oh my God!
But let's get to what you got going. Then I'll just stay in my place.
No, let's go. Let's go ahead and go to it. Do you want to go ahead and tell both of your guys?
Yeah, my second guy would be Isaiah Todd.
Okay.
Because, fam, I don't know you. I don't really know what about you. I mean, you know, I know who he is, and it would be like, oh, that's the kid who went to overtime elite. Okay, yeah, I've heard that kid's name. But you know, there's guys like him that are, you know, they're in the league and they're out of the league fast. And guys that are skipping college is working for some dudes because it gives you that mystery about them where you really don't know on some of them. And some of them look awesome playing in the G League or in these other professional leagues, and they come in and they're fine. That's cool. But there's some dudes that's not paying it out for it. Period. There's some dudes, you know, they're going the overtime elite route or they're going the G League Ignite route, and they're just not looking right. You know, and some guys, the fact that they're away helps them, but some guys is not helping them at all. I don't know. I'm willing to see what he does in camp. I wouldn't be surprised if he looks good in camp. I'm not betting on it, and it's easier to get rid of a guy who, you know, you really don't know anything about. And I want to say his contract is super small. You could eat that one. You know, I want to say it's maybe like a 1-year deal anyway. If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Isaiah Todd is my number 2 right now. But first things first, I move Jitty, and he may have some value. You might get a second round pick swap or something for Jitty in your favor. So you know, who knows.
So that's what I'm looking at too. Is Conchar, it's $2.4 million this year, 6.1 going for the next 3 years after that. So
how do you give him that?
I don't know why 6.
Hey man, that's a little girthy number they gave that man. Been away.
Because the 6 then would be the second year or next year paying Zaire. You know, to me, this is what I would do. Okay, I simply think that you can still make some kind of a move.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you got rid of Conchar and you got rid of Todd, I think you're still fine, right? No, nothing wrong with that. I still feel good. But at what point do you upgrade your team? Okay. And I know that, you're saying that, hey, make your own wings. And I agree with that. I don't think these guys should be playing playoff minutes. I don't think Zaire, I don't think Roddy, and I don't think Jake should be playing just any kind of playoff minutes. So if you break it down, you got Ja Bain, Smart, Triple J, Steve-O, you're starting, 5 more than likely. Rose is he's your backup point guard. He's going to play your 12 to 15 minutes. Luke's going to play, 25 to 30 minutes a night. And then after that, you have Santi, who I like, but is that your top 8 going in? And that's what the question always goes back to me. I want to figure out a way to upgrade my 8. And even if and everybody wants to, argue and talk about these are regular season players. Like Gigi, Jitty, Roddy, Zaire, X, Junior, Jake, they're all regular season players. None of them have taken the step. If they do take the step, so be it. But I just want to see if I can somehow package all of them, or not all of them, some of them, whether it is,
Six guys short on their roster right now.
If we can figure out a way to, send out a Zaire Roddy package or a Zaire Jake package, I'm fine with that, because then you still have a guy like John Conchar who can still be on the roster if you need him to be.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
And then you have to move him again, whatever. But it's still somehow to upgrade that 8. And at that point, what you can do then is you slide Josh Christopher into that open spot. So you do a 2-for-1, slide Josh Christopher in an open spot. I just think there's potential to get better faster than waiting 2 years to see if Jake finally gets consistent enough to play. And at that point, then you're having to pay him, because that's the problem I look at is these guys are all getting paid their $2 to $4 million. Okay, well, in 2 years, they all have to get paid. And do we have 2 years of them to be good enough to be able to figure that out? I don't know. Or can we go get somebody that's making 8 to 10 that's going to make us better instantly?
It's a tough decision to make. And the reason why I say make your own wings is let's say you go out and you get guy X. I mean, whatever. Let's say you go to, just throwing a name out. Let's say you go to the Clippers and you say, hey, we'll give you Zaire and David Roddy for Robert Covington or whatever. Yeah. And you just go get a guy that's a combo forward, can play some 3, can knock down threes, defend, give you big playoff minutes. If you do that, you're basically, you can't do that and develop anybody. If you get Robert Covington and close the door, those other guys are cheerleaders for the rest of the season, whatever. And I'm not mad at that either. That's an approach I wouldn't be mad at all. But I also kind of know how Zach Kleiman thinks. And I know he's a man of habit. He's a creature of habit. Yeah. Hasn't traded a single guy. I mean, hasn't gotten rid of a single guy he's drafted that I can think of. Somebody said somebody's name. I can't think of who it was. But
Kenny Chandler. Because he gets drafted. Yeah.
Kenny Chandler's the only dude. And when did Kenny get drafted? Like
second round.
You know what I mean? So I mean, he likes his dudes, man, and he bets on himself. And I'm sure he's probably got an ego as well. And the fact that he watched Miami do what they're doing with Jimmy Butler and a bunch of guys, he's like, I got a bunch of guys. I can do that shit too. I mean, shout out to my Zach Kleiman person. Yeah. But I'm sure he probably feels the same damn way, man. And I'm not mad at that either. And I think that's a much cheaper way to do things, because not Robert Covington, because he's almost 40. But if you get a guy, let's say you trade those two dudes and you go get Kelly Oubre sign and trade or whatever. You're paying Kelly Oubre whatever you're paying him. Then you got to pay him again in a few years. And then, I think that he likes I think he's going to lean into that homegrown method, even more. I just think this is what's going to happen, man. I don't think they're going to do anything sexy. I just think they're going to kind of, hang on to their dudes, man. But I get it. I totally get what you're saying, for sure. Yeah.
I just think, I think that there's so much potential to upgrade this roster still. And I think just getting rid of guys for second round picks or, whatever kind of pick swaps, I think is okay there too. Mm-hmm. Right. I think this team as currently constructed with the 25-game suspension for Ja, I still think they're a top 5 team in the West. I just think that they're deep enough for a regular season team. I've always preached somehow get better at the top 8. And I think you did, losing Dylan and getting Marcus Smart. Yeah. some people want to complain that, hey, he's not as big as Dylan. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. He's still a good defender, and he's got some girth to him, right? He's big enough.
I don't think we I don't think we go from being a good team to a worse team because of this. And that's what we're talking about in height wise. We're talking about this. I don't think that makes you a bad team. You know what I mean? Yeah. So come on, man. Like I think Marcus Smart is gonna be incredible here. On offensively and defensively, I think he helps. Just strictly because he's not Dylan. He's not gonna take the shots.
I agree.
He's gonna take bad shots too, but just taking less bad shots helps this team. But I'm excited about all of it, man. Like you said, this team's floor is high as hell, man.
Very high.
Even how many teams can you say, hey, Portland, Damian Lillard's gonna miss 25 games at the beginning of the season. I'm gonna spot you guys 25 games. Yeah, good luck. Hey, Phoenix, Devin Booker, I'm gonna sit you down for 25 of those. You know what I mean? Yep. Like whatever team you're talking about, Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell, go sit down for the first 25 games. We'll see you in February. Yeah. You're not gonna predict those teams to still be good. Like there are people saying, yeah, even without Ja 25 games, that team's gonna be super rock solid and could possibly have 2 all-stars coming out their team. You know what I mean? Without their best player being out there. So yeah, man, it's gonna be a crazy good season, I believe, and I think we'll see evidence of that, coming up in training camp.
Yep, I agree. All right, last thing I'm going to ask you, it's all about Junior and Xavier Tillman because people have been split, and I don't think people are understanding. I don't know if both can play. I'm going to ask you that after I talk about our presenting sponsor, and that is Zach Jaworski State Farm. If you need any insurance at all, please reach out to them. Give them a call. You can give them a call at 901-794-3691. Zach and his team have offices out in East Memphis as well as Collierville. They will treat you right and get you a good rate and make sure that when times are tough, when there's a big storm, which I know there is in Memphis tonight, reach out to them. They'll take care of you. The team there I've been with for 10 plus years. I don't even remember. I think it was 2008 when I first bought a house. So however long that is. I've been with Zach and his team, taking very good care of me. They took good care of you. My wife just lost her wedding band. Thank God I had jewelry insurance and just got to check in last week. And so just deposited it. So his team are awesome. So make sure you give them a shout out. Anytime you need anything, if you aren't happy with your current insurance provider, go ahead and reach out to Zach and his team at 901-794-3691. All right. Last thing. I've said this about Junior and Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman's on his last year. Okay. I don't know if they're going to extend him. I don't know what they would do with him. I think he is a very good backup. I think he is a guy that, hey, if he's the third big on your team, you're doing really good. To be the backup big, I don't know if I love that. But now you have Junior, who is a microwave scorer. He's a guy that he's matchup prone. What are you doing with those two guys? Because if you're looking at the roster right now, you have Triple J and Steve-O. Do you agree with both those are starters still? Okay.
Yeah.
Who are you bringing off the bench? Because at this point, you have Santi, Junior, and X that I'm looking at right now.
Man, in today's NBA, you can get away with playing 3 bigs. Like I've entertained conversations about when people are saying wave. When you say wave Kenneth Lofton and keep like John Conchar, I'll jump in those type of conversations with you.
Right.
I don't give a shit between you're talking about Kenneth Lofton versus Xavier Tillman because in a perfect world, neither one of those guys matter at all. I mean, in a perfect world, Steven Adams is healthy. Jaren Jackson Jr. takes a crazy leap this year. Santi, nobody's talking about Santi Aldama and what he could be this year. If those 3 guys are good, plus you get Brandon Clark back, in theory, at some point in the season, I don't care who's better between those 2 dudes. They'll both be swinging ground towels, you know what I mean, in the playoffs. So I don't. And then
so you don't care at all.
Yeah, like Xavier Tillman. We have to remember, man. Before Steven Adams and Brandon Clark got hurt, Xavier Tillman was playing in the G League.
Yeah,
this past season.
Yeah,
like with Junior Lofton. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna act like he's a guy that I really care how many minutes he plays if he's in the rotation. He's fine when you need him. He's been able to step up, but we even saw him guarding LeBron James in the playoffs. But I'm not gonna act like I care one way or another whether it's Tillman or Junior. Neither one of those guys should matter, man. If it matters, that means something that should have gone right went wrong. That means that either Adams isn't ready, Jaren didn't take a leap, Santi's he's regressing, and Brandon Clark's out. You know what I mean? So those 2 guys shouldn't matter. Like I see so many conversations our fans are having. Dude, we're gonna play. Like, it's a guy telling me, man, you're crazy if you think Derrick Rose is gonna play a lot this year. I was like, okay, so tell me the roster tell me the lineup he's out when he's playing. Man, you go Rose, okay, so what are Desmond Bain and Marcus Smart doing while those dudes on the court? They just vibing, huh? What's Ja doing? Just chilling, huh?
Yeah.
Nah, man, he ain't gonna play like starter minutes. He ain't gonna be like no Udonis Haslem, but he'll be like a Kyle Lowry. Like, fam, Kyle Lowry played 30 minutes a game.
Right.
Like, I just think we just throw out, well, that guy needs minutes. Everybody's not gonna get minutes, man. There's only so many minutes to go around. And I say that's real. And if you wanna get an example of that, if you want to kind of see how that works, play NBA 2K. And even that video game will show you, nah, man, you can't play all these dudes.
Yeah.
You can't give this guy 30, this guy 30. Everybody can't play 30 minutes. Like, you're guys who just won't play at all. So I just think it's kind of a silly argument, man, because there's not a situation ever where I want Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams sitting on the bench, or Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams and Santi on the bench. And for some of the stuff that these people argue about, all those dudes have to be sitting down for the guys that we're arguing about to even be in the game at all. To log 1 minute. So I don't have time for that, man. Who cares? I'm not waving Junior to keep Conchar though, because I think helping if you need him in a pinch, he could be a good change of pace guy. Like you're down, you need some energy. Throw in Junior and see what he'll do. But I don't care about him being a rotation player. I mean,
no. I think Junior is very much matchup based, 100%. Like, he's the guy that you throw in there in the first half, and you have to somehow put him next to a guy like Jaren, somebody who is a very good defender, but also somebody that needs to post a little bit. And Jaren can be outside if he wants. Great defender. I think they match up very well. You're talking about, the last 3 minutes of the first quarter, first 3 minutes of the second quarter, somehow microwave score. You're talking about 12 minutes a night max. Somehow he bridges that gap to get you back to Steve-O, or get you back to where you need to. That's the only position I say. But you're talking about 12 minutes
on a slow Wednesday night. You know what I mean? You're struggling against Sacramento.
Put him in. Let him see if he can do work against Harrison Barnes and whatever backup big y'all get. You know what I mean? Yeah.
To see, man. And he's a guy you can match his minutes with Jaren. To the people who talk about how bad of a defender he is, play him next to Jaren. He's going to cover up some of Jaren's weaknesses. Jaren's going to cover up a lot of his. Yeah. I can act like he can't play, but that's not what we're arguing about. Like, it's really a silly conversation.
Yeah, I think the great thing about Xavier Tillman is he's great for this team for the simple fact that we have Steven Adams. Mm-hmm. Because Steven Adams is here, you can somehow slide Xavier Tillman in because they're pretty much the same player. He's just not nearly as good as Steven Adams. Yeah. But for $1 million, yes. And being I guess Jaren was his best man, his best friend. We're going to put him on the team, and that's okay. If he wants to be the 13th, 14th, 15th guy on the roster and be the backup to our backup center, that's fine. Right. But we're talking about having to play him major rotational minutes. No, that's an issue. That's an issue.
That's happening. Something went wrong, like I said.
Yep.
So
we'll see. All right. Anything else you have? I think that's good, man.
I got something for you real quick. Let's start another scenario.
Oh God.
I've got my two dudes. I said if I had to cut two guys or move two guys off the roster, they disappear like that, they're gone. I said John Conchar and I said Isaiah Todd. Let's say that there's a situation where you need to move three guys. Let's say a guy like a Vince Williams is dogging dudes in the preseason, or a guy like Gigi Williams looks like, oh man, this dude's murdering guys. I got to get this guy in the rotation. How would you get another guy off of your roster, Daniel Greer? I've got my third guy. I think you said your third guy would be his. Hold on, did you say who? Did we both agree?
So I agree with you on the two guys. So I would somehow move Jitty, not waive him, and then I would just waive Isaiah Todd or just somehow trade him. Whatever, his $1 million doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. I think it would probably have to be Josh Christopher, just because I don't know if he meshes well. Mm-hmm. There's a reason he got traded.
I don't know what he would be on this roster. It seems like he would be John Conchar without the shooting.
I just don't know if he's consistent enough. But he likes Ja. Mm-hmm. But I think his talent is crazy good. But we just said that about 3 or 4 other guys.
What if the Grizzlies said, all right, Ja, lose D-Tap, we'll give you Jacob. You got to have a little clown around you. Come on, Jacob. Come on. Get out there.
Yeah, listen, that's the only guy I would think of. Like, I'm fine. I'm fine with getting rid of any of the guys if I see Josh Christopher on the court. Right now, I haven't seen him. I got to get rid of him. But if I see him, then yeah, he can change my mind. Do you have a third?
That's Tayshaun Prince is like godson, though, man. That's like his little homie.
I'm down with keeping him.
This is another thing. I know you're on time, but another thing that's intriguing about Josh Christopher. I don't know if you know this, but I know for a fact that the Grizzlies had like big time interest in that dude.
Yeah, 100%.
You know that too, right?
Yeah.
Like that was probably public, but that's I think there's something to that. I think that's kind of intriguing, what you can get from him. But if I ain't gonna lie, man, I might move off of LaRavia. I can see him like literally being like a Kyle Korver type guy in a few years. Who's like a guy taking 9-10 threes a game and making 4 or 5 of them bad boys easy. I can see that him being a jumbo shooter for sure. But I could also see him being a dude where the game never slows down for him. And I can see him just not being in the league in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And if Zaire is good, I think Gigi Jackson is going to be good. Do we even need him to be good? You know what I mean? If Roddy's floor, I think Roddy is. We know his floor. We know how bad he can be. I don't think he's going to be any worse than what he is now. So.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't see it with Jake yet. I just don't know if the consistency is gonna be there. I don't. And I think we're seeing.
I would love it though, man. If he pans out, shit, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For real though.
His shot looks great.
Yeah.
And I think now we're seeing that Roddy's ceiling is much lower than Jake's ceiling, but his floor is so much higher than Jake's just because of the consistency thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if somehow Roddy gets lapped, that's only going to be good for us because that means that obviously somebody's taking that step. But if not, I'm okay playing Roddy because I think Roddy is more of a team player than, everybody's all over, up in arms saying how Imani Bates, he's so great. We're talking about a guy who just wants to shoot the ball, and he played okay. Like, he played fine in the Summer League. But a lot of these guys won't even make Summer League rosters. Like that are actually he's playing up against.
Yeah.
Look, you can look at the Grizzlies roster.
They won't make preseason rosters.
Like nobody. Like, and so I just don't think there's any way that some guys they are good. They're good ballers, right? I am not. I'm very white. I need to be in a system. That's my type of basketball. There's other players that I played with that are not that way. You know what? I want them on my team because I can play alongside them and make them better. Okay.
So you're kind of a Conchar type is what you're saying.
I am very much the Conchar type. I'm white to the core. I apologize. I grew up in Fraser. I got a little swag to me. I got very minimal wiggle. No wiggle. I'm wiggleless. But I believe that, you need guys that can play in the system, but you also need the other sense. You need a guy like Ja who just makes everybody just incredibly better. But then you need these other guys who can just stand in corners and shoot if they need to. So I think you need a little bit of mix. And I just haven't seen it with Jake yet. I'm still waiting, but I like that. I wouldn't be against that. I just want to be able to get something back for him.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I don't know.
We'll see though, man. It's gonna be fun as hell. Real quick, have you seen the posters going around where people are sharing the moment they knew they had to stop playing sports? Like somebody asked a question, like, have you ever played with or against somebody who's in the pros now? And you had a moment against them, you're like, oh, no, this ain't for me. And people were sharing their stories.
Dude, all right. So I played college baseball, and I was offered afterwards to go play and to make little to nothing money, the Brockton Rocks, somewhere in Massachusetts, who knows? But I remember I was playing, and I was obviously I was my senior year, and this dude throws a 97-mile-an-hour fastball by me. I could barely see it, and I said, "Yep, I'm not on his level. I'm not."
All I did was hear that joint. I didn't even see it. Yeah, man.
You hear the catcher, and you're like, "I didn't see anything."
Yeah, one dude was like, "I played against Chris Paul or something, and I knew then I would be a real estate agent or something." It was like I knew I was going to be the one that really was going to be an insurance agent or something. Like it was like these were like
That's
people
funny.
giving real stories. They were posting pictures and everything with them. And this person hanging out or playing against each other, taking pictures after the game or whatever. It was like,
Did you grow up playing ball?
No, I started working as soon as I turned 16.
Really?
And I never played for my school. I played pickup like in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I never played for the school. I was always
still play?
working. And I was always hell no, man. Hell no. Man, I can barely walk out here talking about getting on a basketball court. No, man, but like I've always kind of done this. I've always kind of like ran my mouth about stuff. Like even in high school, like I would give commentary about. I would say what I thought about our team, and they didn't like me then either. So, but, yeah, man.
I like it, man. All right. Well, do you have anything else before we get out of here?
No, man, just get Concha off my team. Let's get this going. Let's get this preseason thing going so we can just go ahead and say our goodbyes to these guys. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun for sure. All jokes aside.
What are you gonna do with your shirt if Sain is not on the team?
That take Ben came off this shirt. I've been wearing that shirt on the town too, man. For real.
Yeah, go get your own Grizz 901 shirts. Go over to I think it's Grind City Designs. They still have them up, so if you want to buy them, feel free to go buy them, people. But that's all we got, man. Sain, I can't thank you enough. It's been fun.
Hey, man,
I was thinking all day about what are we going to talk about, and I was like, you know what? I want to talk about one thing: the entire roster. I don't want to make it all fancy, different, whatever. I was like, let's just go.
Yeah.
Once Nate backed out on me. Nate's not here. In case anybody's wondering, he had a work event, so that's why Sain's been here the whole time.
Oh,
so.
I asked John Martin. I said, "Have you seen the dude the Bluff City Media looks like a fake ass you?" He said, "Yeah, I seen that dude." We all laughed about it.
John, man, John's great. He came on my show last year. All right, so
I was like, "Shit, who was that dude?" It looked just like John Martin.
Dude, that was so funny. All right, if you missed that, go back and listen to the draft night. But you got to go all the way to the very end of the 4 hours, and you'll catch Sain coming on here.
Reactions to Gigi Jackson.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, so next week will be our last episode for July, and then we're off. Brandon will actually have the ones and the twos. He'll be doing this for all of August, and so we're gonna take off all of August. So if you are a fan, tune in. I'll be tuning in. I just don't want to have to do anything for the month of August, so we can get ready for September and then do the 82 game schedule, doing all the post games. But Sain, can't thank you enough, man. It's been a pleasure. I'm on the road, so hopefully everybody's safe back home. But I'll be going home tomorrow, so don't go steal anything out of my house. There's people there, okay? Whatever. All right, that's all we got. Be nice and tell your friends.